the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, also known as the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, and by its Arabic language acronym Daesh, is a Salafi jihadist militant group that follows a fundamentalist Wahhabi doctrine of Sunni Islam. The group's adoption of the name Islamic State and its idea of a caliphate have been widely criticized, with the United Nations, various governments, and mainstream Muslim groups rejecting its statehood or caliphhood. The group first began referring to itself as the Islamic State or IS in June 2014, when it proclaimed itself a worldwide caliphate, and named Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi as its caliph. As a caliphate, it claims religious, political and military authority over all Muslims worldwide. As of December 2015, the group has control over vast landlocked territory in Iraq and Syria, with a population estimate ranging between 2.8 million and 8 million people, where it enforces its interpretation of Sharia law. ISIL affiliates control small areas of Libya, Nigeria and Afghanistan and operate in other parts of the world, including North Africa and South Asia. ISIL gained prominence in early 2014 when it drove Iraqi government forces out of key cities in its western Iraq offensive, followed by its capture of Mosul and the Sinjar massacre. The subsequent possibility of a collapse of the Iraqi state prompted a renewal of U.S. military action in the country. In Syria, the group has conducted ground attacks on both government forces and rebel factions. In early 2015, the number of fighters that the group commands in Iraq and Syria was estimated by the CIA at 31,000, with foreign fighters accounting for around two-thirds, while ISIL leaders claim that they command 40,000 fighters, the majority of them being Iraqi and Syrian nationals. The group has been designated a terrorist organization by the United Nations, the European Union and its member states, the United States, Russia, India, Indonesia, Israel, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Iran and other countries. Over 60 countries are directly or indirectly waging war against ISIL. Adept at social media, ISIL is widely known for its videos of beheadings of both soldiers and civilians, including journalists and aid workers, and its destruction of cultural heritage sites. The United Nations holds ISIL responsible for human rights abuses and war crimes, and Amnesty International has charged the group with ethnic cleansing on a historic scale in northern Iraq. Around the world, Islamic religious leaders have overwhelmingly condemned ISIL's ideology and actions, arguing that the group has strayed from the path of true Islam and that its actions do not reflect the religion's real teachings or virtues. The group originated as Jama'ah al-Tawhid wal-Jihad in 1999, which pledged allegiance to al-Qaeda and participated in the Iraqi insurgency following the March 2003 invasion of Iraq by Western forces, joining other Sunni insurgent groups to form the Mujahideen Shura Council. This group proclaimed the formation of the Islamic State of Iraq in October 2006. In August 2011, following the outbreak of the Syrian civil war, ISIL, under the leadership of al-Baghdadi, delegated a mission into Syria, which under the name Jabhat an-Nusra al-Sham established a large presence in Sunni-majority al-Raqqa, Idlib, Deir ez-Zor, and Aleppo provinces. The merger of ISI with al-Nusra Front to form the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, as announced in April 2013 by al-Baghdadi, was however rejected by al-Nusra leader al-Julani and by al-Qaeda leader al-Zawahiri, who subsequently cut all ties with ISIL. In February 2014. Name. Historical names. The group has had various names since it was founded in 1999 by Jordanian radical Abu Musab al-Zarqawi under the name Jama'at al-Tawhid wa al-Jihad. When in October 2004 al-Zarqawi swore loyalty to Osama bin Laden, he renamed the group Tanzim Qaidat al-Jihad fi Bilad al-Rafadain, commonly known as Al-Qaeda in Iraq or AQI. Although the group never called itself Al-Qaeda in Iraq, this remained its informal name for many years. In January 2006, AQI merged with several other Sunni insurgent groups to form the Mujahideen Shura Council. After al-Zarqawi was killed in June 2006, the MSC merged in October 2006 with several more insurgent factions to form a new group, Ad-Dawla al-Iraq al-Islamiyya, which translates as the Islamic State of Iraq. The ISI was led by Abu Omar al-Baghdadi and Abu Ayyub al-Masri, who were killed in a U.S.-Iraqi operation in April 2010, after which Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi became the group's new leader. Current name in April 2013. Having expanded into Syria, the group adopted the name Ad-Dawla al-Islamiyya fi al-Iraq wa Sham, as al-Sham is a region often compared with the Levant of Greater Syria. The group's name has been variously translated as Islamic State of Iraq and al-Sham, Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. While the use of either one of the other acronym has been the subject of debate, the distinction between the two and its relevance has been considered not so great. Of greater relevance is Daesh, an acronym of ISIL's Arabic name al-Dawla al-Islamiyya fi al-Iraq wa al-Sham. Daesh or Daesh has been widely used by ISIL's Arabic-speaking detractors, although and to a certain extent because it is considered derogatory, as it resembles the Arabic words Daesh and Daesh. Within areas under its control, ISIL considers use of the acronym Daesh punishable by flogging or cutting out the tongue. In May 2014, the United States Department of State announced its decision to use Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant as the group's primary name. It kept to this decision when in late June 2014 the group renamed itself Ad-Dawla al-Islamiyya, thereby declaring itself worldwide caliphate. The name Islamic State and the group's claim to be a caliphate have been widely rejected, with the UN, various governments, and mainstream Muslim groups refusing to use the new name. Later in 2014, however, some top U.S. officials shifted towards using the name Daesh, since this was the name that their Arab allies preferred to use. In 2015, over 120 British parliamentarians asked the BBC to use the name Daesh, following the example of John Kerry and Laurent Fabius. It subsequently adopted the phrase so-called Islamic State. Epithet Sunni Islamic non-state is a term used by Ban Ki-moon, Secretary-General of the United Nations, to describe ISIL. Similar statements have been made by Muslim groups in Britain. In remarks to the UN Security Council, Ban Ki-moon had said they should more fittingly be called the un-Islamic non-state. He argued that Muslim leaders around the world have said groups like ISIL or Daesh have nothing to do with Islam, and they certainly do not represent a state. The term Islamic State was objected to by Muslim groups in Europe even before Ban Ki-moon's letter, and according to the New York Times, using the term un-Islamic non-state was signaling that a semantic war was about to happen. In Britain, members of the Islamic Society of Britain and the Association Association of British Muslims sent an open letter to British Prime Minister David Cameron, suggesting that the group should be referred to as the Un-Islamic State, or UIS. The letter, which was signed by a number of Britain Islamic figures such as Safra Ahmed, President of the Islamic Society of Britain, Muhammad Abbasi, from the Association of British Muslims, and Amjad Malik Yusi, President of the Association of Muslim Lawyers, said, "We do not believe the terror group responsible should be given the credence and standing they seek by styling themselves Islamic State. It is neither Islamic, nor is it a state.